Thank you for your patience. We will begin in 2 minutes. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this press conference, the Education Transformation Committee press conference. And this one is year 3, quarter 1. So we'll receive the reports for that today. There's this quote that I particularly like, and the namesake, Ruth Ginsburg, and it says, "Real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time," which is why we come to report the one step at a time that we are making in transforming the education sector. I won't go through all the list of wonderful persons we have here, but quickly acknowledge our Minister, Senator Dr. the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, of course our Permanent Secretary, Dr. Casson Troop. We have our new team lead for Trend, Dr. Leon. We have Dr. Stokes, who is the chair of the ETOC committee. Our CEO is here with us, and our DCO. But I will not elaborate because we have our Permanent Secretary who will join me quickly in a second just to give the official welcome and a quick prayer as we get ready to start. So make her welcome.
Good morning, Jamaica. Good morning, everyone. Let us pray. Gracious, kind, and loving Father God, we give you all the glory. We give you all the honor. We pray, oh God, that as we report this morning, that you will be glorified, because all we do, oh God, is for your honor, for your glory. We invite your holy presence, and we ask that you take full control of the proceedings as we look to your guidance and will. In your precious name, amen. Colleagues, it's my joy this morning to welcome Jamaica and my colleagues to another update where we come to Jamaica to talk about the work of education. It's not necessarily the Ministry of Education that is on stage today, but the Education Transformation Oversight Committee that is being chaired by Dr. Adrian Stokes. And that's an important body that has been put in place to ensure that the work of transformation, those 365 recommendations, that they don't sit on a shelf, that they are an active part of the work of the ministry. And so that committee has the responsibility to come to the nation every quarter to talk about the progress of education, and more so the implementation of the recommendation. This body is led by Dr. Adrian Stokes, and it is my joy this morning to welcome him to another committee's report to the nation. He takes this work very, very seriously, I tell you. As a permanent secretary, he comes to the ministry every single week, virtually and sometimes physically, to do a touch point with us, 1 hour every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, to talk to us about the work of transformation. And he provides brilliant insights. He brings a business mind to the implementation of education in our country. I've learned so much from him, and I will confess to Jamaica, as we implement the tactical approach, that terminology came from Dr. Stokes. He said, Dr. Troop, we need some quick wins. We need something tactical. Of course, we built it out, but it was his terminology. And so when you hear about the tactical approach later, we are going to credit that to Dr. Stokes. Let me welcome, of course, our Honorable Minister, Senator Dr. the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, the Minister of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information. We love her. She's energetic. She's indomitable. And she comes hitting the ground running. She's not a stranger to the transformation work. She spent time on that commission. If you look in that report, you'll see her name. So she's very equipped, very aware of what needs to be done. And she has been championing the cause of education. You see her out there talking. She's meeting with our principals, meeting with our teachers. She's on the ground. She's a bottom-up minister, and we are so delighted to have her. Welcome, Minister. We are happy to have you this morning. You learned earlier that we have a new member to the Trend team. We call it in the ministry the Trend Secretariat, that we used to organize and to implement the program of transformation. Now we have Dr. Denise Morrison-Leon, who is the project lead for Trend. We welcome you, Dr. Leon, and she will be presenting the updates from the ministry following our very own Dr. Stokes, who is the chairman of the committee this morning. Let me welcome the CEO, Mrs. Thomas Gale. We are happy to have you, CEO. Of course, she leads the implementation of many of the pillars. We talk about TVET in our schools, that's the DSS. We talk about infrastructure, that's the DSS. We talk about teaching, teacher training and curriculum, that's the DSS. So she has a lot of activities within the DSS to lead under the transformation model, and we are grateful. We have our very own Winnie Berry, who is the DCEO for curriculum, and you see that that's a pillar in the transformation. So they are all on the ground working. I know of my technical team from the ministry of the members of the communications unit, member of our minister's technical team, and of course in cyberspace we have the members of the ministry's technical team from the head of our agencies, the head of divisions, the head of our regions. You are out there and we welcome you. Most importantly, our listeners out there in cyberspace, members of the media, we are happy to have you this morning. We welcome you warmly, and we want you to be in step with us as we continue this work of transformation. As I said to us, a couple team members yesterday, there's nothing wrong with Jamaica that cannot be fixed by what is right with Jamaica. And we have many right things in the Ministry of Education, and we are committed to this task. So, Minister, this is part of what we do, and I know you'll be proud. You have seen the report, and I know you'll be ready to defend and to answer the questions. Over to you, Dr. Stokes, as you present your update to the nation.
Thank you, Dr. Troop. And I must say to Jamaica that we have an exceptional leader at the ministry in Dr. Troop, driving the implementation of the recommendations. Good morning, everyone. Let me acknowledge Minister of Education, Dr. Dana Dixon. He officially acknowledge the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Kassan Troop, other senior leaders from the Ministry of Education, members of the Education Transformation Oversight Committee. Let me recognize Mr. Arville Levy, media representatives, special invited guests. It's a pleasure to be here for another reporting session. Let me also say a good morning to those persons joining us on our various digital platforms. Before I delve into the key findings for this reporting period, I want to reiterate a point I made at the start of this transformation process, which is we are, and when I said we, at ETOC, and I'm sure the minister will speak for the Ministry of Education, we are in this for the long haul. Jamaica's education system cannot be transformed overnight. We are committed to being dogged, thorough, and absolutely resilient as we guide the implementation of the recommendations from the Patterson report. The future of our country depends on this significant national effort to improve the people, systems, and processes that drive educational outcomes. And I want to just flip, I should have a slide there, a slide deck. So I just want to go to the second slide. Hopefully that is up. So as always, I will present ETOC's overall assessment of the transformation project, supported by some key observations and recommendations to the ministry as we aim to optimize the execution of this national imperative. For this quarter, we are reporting an overall 30% progress rate on the implementation of the recommendations to improve education outcomes in Jamaica. This is a positive increase from the 23% progress reported at our last quarterly briefing. Now, work has begun on all pillars, with all initiated endeavors progressing as planned. An additional 2 initiatives were finalized this reporting period, bringing the total number of finalized initiatives to 17 since the project began. Could skip to the next slide, please. I'm pleased to report that work continues on the plan to modernize the Ministry of Education, preparing it to lead a world-class education sector. As you know, the education sector is relatively large and complex compared to other areas of government. We have identified serious issues relating to weak accountability systems and ensuring that individuals within education are held to a world-class standard. The transformation of education in Jamaica cannot truly happen until the ministry overseeing the sector is globally competitive in its administration and policy development. This, ladies and gentlemen, provides the impetus and credibility to implement meaningful reforms across the wider sector. As indicated at our last press conference, the Mona School of Business is assisting us with this critical piece of work. I've received an initial set of recommendations from the Mona School of Business on measures to transform the ministry. The next step involves consultation with critical stakeholders before we provide feedback to the Mona School as they finalize their recommendations. Our goal is to have a firm set of recommendations by the time of our next press briefing. Let me switch gears a little bit to talk about the status of the JETC bill. I want to highlight that further deliberations and consultations will occur before the bill is passed into law. No doubt you are aware that critical stakeholders have provided important recommendations for improving the bill. While we want to see this bill implemented ASAP, there's no point moving forward while important stakeholders have material and sensible feedback that could potentially enhance the bill. My only request is that the feedback process be time-bound to prevent an endless feedback loop. Let me take this opportunity to highlight some important work done by the Ministry of Education over the last 6 to 9 months. And in particular, I want to talk about the PEP and CSEC math and English performance. Now, ETOC has concerns, serious concerns about the CSEC math and English passes. And the permanent secretary talked about the tactical approach that was implemented this year. But notwithstanding the PEP performance, and it's something that we spoke about last year, with the need to improve the overall quality of the performance. And I'm happy to say that from the recent PEP data, we have seen a marked improvement in the quality of students who will enter our secondary school system this September. Yes, we actually should clap, right? When the news isn't so good, I know people descend upon the ministry. So when we have a positive, we really should highlight and celebrate our wins. So the data are clear. Tracking students from grade 4 through to grade 6, we can see that only 3% of students are now rated as developing in mathematics at the grade 6 level, a significant drop from 26% in 2023. Very encouragingly, 56% of the grade 6 cohort are now proficient in mathematics, compared to only 27% when these children were in grade 4. That is very commendable. You can move to the next slide, please. The results for CSEC math and English passes will be released in August. And I'm very hopeful that these results, and I talk to the CEO every time we catch up, Mrs. Thomas Gale, I asked her, what are we expected? And she has assured me that we will see an improvement. In fact, her term is that we got this. So I'm waiting. A little bit nervous, but let us hope for the best. So we are expecting to see a lift year over year in CSEC passes, certainly the quality of the math passes in August when the results are released. Let me move a little bit to talk about governance. Next slide, please. So at our last meeting, I emphasized the critical role of governance in the proper functioning of our education system. Jamaica's education system is relatively decentralized, and we spoke about this last time, with significant responsibility given to school boards to oversee performance. This means that the method of choosing boards is extremely important. And when I say method, I'm talking about a lot of the important factors. So things like competence and intellectual diversity, rules for board quorum, and the selection of chairpersons and so on. These are very, very important in the proper composition of the board for the board to perform adequately. Anecdotally, schools with strong boards tend to perform better than those with dysfunctional boards. With this in mind, a major effort is underway to reform our school boards in Jamaica. Two types of reforms are being pursued. One, improving the cadre of persons seeking to serve on school boards. To achieve this, we are making the application process for serving on a school board very transparent, similar to what obtains in the wider public sector. Soon, individuals who wish to serve on a school board will upload their CVs and other relevant information to a website managed by the ministry. These individuals will be vetted to ensure they are fit and proper, with ultimate goal of matching competencies to the specific needs of schools. The second critical reform that is taking place as it relates to school boards relates to legislative changes. Currently, the composition of government-operated school boards can lead to a perverse result where a school can effectively govern itself. This means that members from a school who are appointed to the board can effectively control the board's decisions. This is an obvious conflict and goes against well-established good governance principles. The goal is to ensure that the rules applicable to government-run schools are similar to those that apply to church-run schools. Next slide, please. Let me talk through some critical initiatives that are underway for the next school year. Now, as everyone knows, we are not where we would like to be. Notwithstanding, it is encouraging to see work being done across critical segments of our education system. This to ensure sustainability of the reform measures that are being implemented. Crucially, training and retraining of teachers and other professionals across the education system is being ramped up. So for the upcoming school year, there's a strong focus on teachers from grades 1 to 3 in reading instruction. Significant push there. We're also seeing significant effort to assess students early to better understand learning challenges so that appropriate intervention strategies can be implemented. Next slide, please. Importantly, the practice of moving students from one grade to the next, irrespective of academic development, will be stopped. Students who are not at the requisite level will be placed on a pathway that allows them to remediate the learning challenges they are experiencing. Individual learning plans will be developed for these students to ensure proper targeting of learning challenges. And I talk to the Mrs. Thomas Gale, Chief Education Officer, so often about this because this is such a significant effort being made to curtail some of the significant learning challenges that we're seeing in our primary schools. Next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we currently face a serious problem in some of our high schools. Some students arriving from our primary schools via the PEP exam are not academically equipped to undertake 10 subjects in grade 7. These students, some of them are placed in what is called the Pathway 3 by the ministry. They require focused attention to correct fundamental issues with literacy and numeracy. Therefore, I'm happy that come this September, students who require academic assistance, as indicated by their Pathway 3 grouping, will do only 6 subjects in grade 7, instead of the multiple subjects some are currently undertaking. These students will be taken through a more targeted program to ensure they are better equipped to pursue a successful secondary school life. It's a very important development. Next slide, please. Before I close, I would like to acknowledge the enthusiastic support of the private sector organization of Jamaica for the support they have indicated and tangibly put forward to the transformation work that is taking place at the Ministry of Education. I am pleased to report that the PSOJ has offered to assist in key areas like technology and the ministry's Adopt a School program. Education transformation is truly a national effort that requires all stakeholders to contribute in a meaningful way. And in this respect, I really want to, as I said, acknowledge the PSOJ and its leadership. In closing, let me again thank the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Troop, and her team for the focus and drive shown to date as they execute the recommendations of the Patterson Report. I also extend my gratitude to the Minister, Dr. Dixon, for her leadership and proactiveness in driving key legislative changes critical to the transformation effort. Finally, I thank all ETOC members who continue to perform their governance role with sincerity and great zeal. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I look forward to taking your questions later on this morning.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Stokes, as usual, for always grounding us with such purpose and reviewing what we're doing and keeping us on our A game. We appreciate that. And quickly also to say thank you to our Permanent Secretary who would have done the welcome. Of course, the work that she does helps to drive the trend agenda as we transform education for national development. And now to provide insight into what has been happening over the last quarter as it relates to trend, the monitoring of it, the reviewing of it, and how it is that we're doing and the impact of trend so far. We will welcome our new team member who is doing an exceptional job. You'd think she has been here for a while. So help me welcome our trend project lead, Dr. Venice Morris-Leon.
Thank you so much, Ms. Carr, our chair for this morning's proceeding. Senator, Dr. the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, Dr. Kassan Troop, Permanent Secretary, Dr. Adrian Stokes, Chairman for ETOC, Mrs. Thomas Gale, CEO, Jamaica colleagues who are listening this morning, good morning. I'm here to share with you updates on our transformation agenda. And I want to quickly say that transformation belongs to all Jamaicans. And so, as I share this morning, I'm not sharing just numbers and data. I am sharing updates that gives us insight into how the recommendations can improve the quality of life of our children, those in our education system that we are placed to serve. I'm going to ask you to share the slides, please, and I'll provide the updates accordingly. All right, so the report and updates are for quarter one in our third year of our transformation activities. So we're talking about progress that we would have made between April to June 2025. There's a diagram being shown on screen that looks at the trajectory in terms of our goal, and Dr. Stokes provides details on that in terms of where we are, the 30%, and we continue to progress on that path. Continue moving the slides for me. I'm going to be sharing with you goal 13.3, and one of our recommendations states develop a centralized cloud-based accounting software that can be used. And I'm happy to report this morning that with that recommendation, we have completed 80% of the implementation activities, and the activities that we have completed includes training of personnel in our schools, and we're talking about 50 of our schools, onboarding 31 schools on the government financial management system, upgrading the Accountant General software to facilitate separation of accounts. The full use by the schools will take effect 1st of August 2025, and that is something that we are anticipating. When schools are able to manage the financing, it makes a difference in our outputs in the schools. Other recommendations that I want to report on under Pillar 1 includes, thank you. So I'll move the slides along. Pillar 1, recommendation 3.1, it says that the ministry must develop and deploy a functioning, fit-for-purpose education management system. And the EMIS, we can report this morning that we are making progress where that activity is concerned. And some of the key milestones for this phase of that implementation of that recommendation, all schools are now represented on the EMIS, the Education Management Information System. And the good thing about the EMIS is that we are able to collect preliminary demographic data on our schools. We have 256 schools that are fully onboarded in using the EMIS, and this includes 245 of our NSLIP schools. 2 of the 3 modules on the EMIS are currently functional, and that's the attendance, behavior, and assessment modules. We have 73 schools that have started using the EMIS portal, the attendance module in particular, and the data integration framework is currently ready to be rolled out. Management systems sometimes can pose problems for institutions. And so we have an instructional guide or guides that are available for our schools to navigate the platform fully, and an help desk is also operational so that persons can be provided with support. We're continuing Pillar 1, and the recommendation that I want to report on capitalize on the current interest and engagement of community. I'll skip this one because our chair mentioned our partnership with PSOJ already. So I'll move to Pillar 2. And the first recommendation from Pillar 2 that I'll report on is conducting a comprehensive legislative review to address all areas of the early childhood legislation. That is progressing quite well, and we are reporting this morning 2 deliverables that were completed, the DEX review and the internal review of the policy was also completed. We're still with Pillar 2 for our recommendations, and Pillar 2 has to do with early childhood, and the other pillar that I want to report on is improving the services of children with disability and their families at the ECC level along the teaching curriculum and teacher training section. And I want to report this morning that Jamaica Students' Readiness and Assessment for age 4 children, that is completed at the school level. We're at 50% with that activity. And the Ages and Stages questionnaire for Jamaica is currently underway for the 11,000 infants that we serve. We are at 20% of our target with that activity, and the tertiary screening is also underway, and we are at 20% with that activity. Provide education and training for parents in basic academics and other vocation at the early childhood level. I am pleased to report this morning that we have 986 parents participating in 114 parenting sessions. There's a strong correlation between parenting and student success. And so if we have our parents doing well, our children in our schools will also do well. And if we have our schools doing well, then Jamaica is going to be a better place. So that's a no-brainer for us. We are actually doing exceptionally well with this activity. I'll move quickly to Pillar 3, teaching curriculum and training. And I'm reporting this morning on the first activity there, provide education and training. No, that's not the one. Sorry about that. Provide students with a variety of opportunity to practice and improve their academics and non-academic skills. And our chair reported that our Pillar 3 is doing well. I also want to add that 4,000 teachers were targeted and 99.7% of them participated in the training. Under this activity, we are also engaged in our regional back-to-school leadership conference under the theme, Transforming Education for Students' Success, Leadership, Accountability, and Curriculum Innovation. And I have participated 2 weeks in those activities. And I am just so very pleased when I listen to our principals and our board chairmen. They're so excited and fired up about education. And it sends a good signal for us when we observe and listen to the rhetoric of our principals. They're excited about what the future holds for Jamaica. And the conference allows our board chairmen to benefit from instructional leadership activities, sessions that are targeted to assist them to improve teaching and quality at their various institutions. And so that, for me, is a big success. We reported already on our improvement in our PEP, and we want to celebrate our children for the tremendous job done this year. Pillar 3 continues, roll out a targeted program of retraining of teachers, and this is at all levels of the education system, and teachers have participated in training in artificial intelligence, and ICT Future Teachers Kit were provided by UNESCO. For this activity, we are at 75%, which is a 15% increase over the previous period. Within 21st century, our schools must be equipped with teachers that are well-resourced to provide the kind of instructional leadership in our classrooms. And so teachers cannot fully understand the smells and the sounds of the classroom if they are not equipped to do so. And the trainings are made available for our teachers. Jamaica Teaching Council has launched their learning management system, and our teachers currently have access to participate in the training sessions. For Pillar 4, or tertiary sector, the Higher Education Act and policy should be finalized and passed into law without further delay. And I'm happy to report this morning that there is a 10% increase for this activity where the policy is concerned. All right, so we are making some progress with fast tracking that activity. Conduct a comprehensive operational review of publicly funded tertiary institutions to unearth significant inefficiency in the sector. We're happy to share this morning that when it comes to staffing structures, we are 90% complete. And we can say that it is near submission. And for the job descriptions for principals and vice principals, that activity was completed. All right? The appraisal tool, we are happy to say also that we are 90% complete with that activity. What's going on now, we are doing consultations with our stakeholders to finalize the appraisal and ensure that it is used in our system. We're still with Pillar 4, the recommendation, a functioning tertiary education management system, TMIS, and making sure that TMIS is rolled out to assist us with activities including looking at enrollment, dropout, tracer studies, graduation, after graduation activities, and so on. And we want to report that the TMIS is 35% complete. A steering committee was established, and they are currently reviewing key deliverables for this activity. And they are looking at the inception report, software specifications, and the dashboard, just to make sure that there is ease of navigation for those who use TMIS, so that we do not have any issue when it is introduced in the school. For TVET, Pillar 5, adequately resourced TVET programs, and I want to share this morning that we have 5 exemplary labs that are 80% complete, and the names of the schools are projected on screen. We have also done the procurement for 5 additional labs, and the additional 5 that we intended to include for this new school year, those were identified, and we have improved 115 of our labs. Another recommendation for, yes, that's need for us to applaud, because technical vocational activities in our school is a pathway for students who have the proclivity to do things in that area. We want to strengthen the capacity of in-service TVET teachers, and for the period under review, 25 grades 4 to 6 teachers from 2 of our QECs benefited from capacity building sessions, which included project-based learning, e-design processing, and STEAM activities to support the implementation of resource and technology. Conducting audits, still with TVET, we want to share that and celebrate that 100% of the TVET labs have been audited to support the investments across the school system. Our national skills competition under TVET, one of our pillars, is to celebrate TVET achievements, and this morning we can celebrate with our school. This activity is 100% completed. Yes. A total of 19 schools, 19 high schools and 13 primary schools participated in the events for 4 award categories. And the best TVET student came from St. Andrew Technical, best NVQJ school performance, Mushet, and the most innovative TVET project came from St. Andrew Technical, and the best kept TVET lab was from Cambridge. And we also have our primary schools doing well in the TVET competition. First place went to Mount Moriah, second place to Black River Primary and Infant, third place went to Brayton, and the most innovative TVET group project went to Windsor School of Special Education, and they were also given the Resilient Innovator Award for this year. Put our hands together for our schools. They have done extremely, extremely well. All right, we're at Pillar 6, and I'm just giving you a synopsis of the updates, and the full sum report is made available on our website, so you can check for that. Pillar 6, IT 6, renew commitment to positioning, prioritizing, and investing in infrastructure to support cultural, athletic, and social growth and development, including green spaces. As of the 30th of June, the following infrastructure projects are underway. Procurement is in progress for design and build out of 2 STEAM institutions. Work is also on track to be completed by September 25, 2025 at our schools, including those that are projected on screen. And we are reporting also that there is expansion work ongoing at several of our schools in the system, and there is work to commence in August for our diagnostic center. And that is something that I know all Jamaicans are looking forward to. Another recommendation that I want to quickly report on is the renewed commitment to prioritizing and investing in infrastructure. And we want to say that we have projects are underway for 202 of our schools island-wide, and 628 million is allocated to support the maintenance of the schools, the projects in the schools, including termite treatment in some of our schools, electrical upgrading at various stages in 10 of our schools, and we're happy to say that this is 36% in terms of the progress that we are making with this activity, and we are at the same 36% for our security fencing in 11 of our schools. When it comes to ICT and Wi-Fi, that is something that all schools have a keen interest in, because if we're asking our schools to use the technology, we want to make sure that the schools are equipped. And we want to report this morning that connectivity is currently at 51.3% in our schools. There's increased penetration across the island, and we have Wi-Fi and other access points installed in over 80 of our schools. For ICT, we want to also report that when it comes to upskilling our teachers, to make sure that they are technologically savvy and they are comfortable with using the technology, we have signed a MOU with Digital Foundation to create STEM labs in 3 of our tertiary institutions, because if we equipped our tertiary institutions with the skills, they are training teachers. So teachers will graduate from these institutions also with the skills to manage the technology at the school level. And the 3 schools are listed on your screen. We continue to report on the continuous upskilling and training of our teachers with technology, and we want to report this morning that interactive boards, 648 schools have benefited from interactive boards. 605 schools have received laptops for their schools, and an additional 10 schools will be delivered in the coming week, and projectors are made available for all primary and the 45 infant schools. And that is something to celebrate, because the teachers have the resources that they can use to improve teaching and learning. We're at Pillar 7, so I'm coming down shortly. And this recommendation has to do with the school feeding and path program to be re-examined with a view towards expanding and enhancing support to families in low-income households. All right, and I'll just report quickly that in the first quarter, the following activities were achieved. We have provided breakfast solution for 2.2 million units provided, and that's a total of 101% of our target. So we have exceeded the target for our breakfast solution to our schools, the lunch solutions, the units that's provided also, we have exceeded the target. We are at 101%, and that is great indeed. And for the first quarter, we are reporting also that we had 35 delivery dates for our nutritional support for our institutions. The final pillar, the final recommendation that I want to report for Pillar 7 is GOJs should gradually increase the allocation of budgetary resource to the early childhood level. And we want to report this morning that June 2025, approximately 1.7, the first tranche of our disbursement went to our schools, and it is to strengthen support for low-income households. And the ministry has disbursed 5.9 billion to the school feeding program for the fiscal year, benefiting 1,044 schools, and this includes our early childhood institution. The report on our achievement is something that we should be happy about, because based on what is happening with the recommendations, we are making steady progress. This signals a growing commitment for our education transformation agenda, and we will continue to work towards making sure that every single recommendation is achieved by the end of the program, and that is in 2031. Thank you so much for listening, and we will take your questions.
Thank you so very much for that, Dr. Leon. And I hope we're paying keen attention, because sometimes I think we listen, well, we're hearing, but we're not listening. And I hope that we are, because when you start hearing about 144 schools, start thinking about thousands of children now having nutritious meals. Think about those students connected to the internet, having smart boards, access to STEM and STEAM education. We are competing on the world stage. So don't forget that. I want us to pay keen attention. And I also want to quickly acknowledge the presence of Dr. Winsome Gordon from JTC. She has joined us for our press conference today. And we talk about the JTC bill, so we're happy to have you in our presence. And Dr. Leon, that presentation was in depth. That was good. We talk about real impact. And there's this, what do you call it? It's not even an adage, maybe a proverb, I'm not sure. But the question is asked, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that is why Trend is broken down in 7 pillars, so that we can take it a bite at a time, one step at a time, so that we can make these changes that need to be made. So I'm so grateful for that. Before I turn over to our minister, and our minister is busy, busy doing the work. You can clap, Oh my goodness. She's busy out there getting the job done, and she will join us shortly. But I just want to quickly go to a comment that we got on YouTube from Geneva. And she said, please keep on implementing the Patterson report. It might take a while, but it will be worth it in the end. Our education system will be transformed. Clap, Geneva. And I appreciate that. I love that, because the change is happening. And we are happy to inform you that you too are part of the change. And a little later, I'll tell you how you can become more involved. But for now, help me welcome our minister, Senator Dr. the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, who is focused on her resolve to significantly move the needle, not just move it a little bit, significantly move the needle as we transform our education sector.
Thank you, Ms. Carr, very much for chairing this session so well. I have to acknowledge Dr. Troop, our wonderful permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information. Dr. Adrian Stokes, the chairman of the Education Transformation Oversight Committee, and all other members of the committee who are here. Ministry officials who are here, and there are many of them who are here this morning, including our acting CEO, who works so very hard every day, and Miss Berry. And we also have Dr. Morrison Leon, who is also a new member of the ETOC team. I really want to say good morning to you, members of the media, education stakeholders here or watching at home or abroad. Good morning to all of you. So you've heard a lot already. There's a lot going on, and I'm very happy to have the media here, because there is so much happening in education. I know when the Education Transformation Commission was meeting, One of the concerns was that the report would just be put on a shelf and nothing would happen. And I think one of the best things to happen to education is Dr. Adrian Stokes. He is one who has benefited from our education system and has decided that he wants to give back. And he's unrelenting. And I don't even need to worry about ETOC implementation because I know that he is chairing it and he is doing a fantastic job at it. I can do all the other stuff in terms of going to the schools, learning from the schools, and I know that the implementation of the recommendations are in absolutely safe hands. And so on behalf of Jamaica, Dr. Stokes, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for not easing up on the team. I really want to thank you because our children deserve the best education system that they can get. This morning, I want to speak about a few things and emphasize some things, especially for the media and those at home, so that you understand how things are changing. We're not saying we are where we need to be. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done, but we feel that we're on the right path, and that's the key thing. I want to start with the PEP results, and we had a press conference on PEP, and I don't think we must ever underestimate what happened in terms of those results. These children were adversely affected by COVID. They were in grade 1 and grade 2. They were very early in their education life, and you know how important the foundation is. And for them at grade 4, the ministry was worried, really worried. CEO, weren't you very worried? The whole team was very worried at grade 4 when the results came, because it showed that COVID had a real impact on these children. And for you to see what Dr. Stokes has discussed today, see that improvement in performance, especially on mathematics and language arts, is tremendous. And we have to give the ministry team, the teachers, the principals, everybody, all the parents who worked so hard with their children to get them from the developing stages to proficient. That is amazing. And I want to again point out some of our schools that have done really well in improving performance. And I'm going to say their names again. For mathematics, and these schools in 2 years ago, two years ago at grade 4, more than 75% of their students were below proficiency. Over 75% below proficiency. And in 2 years, these schools were able to get 100% of their students to proficient. What it says is that it can happen. It doesn't even solely need the ministry. It's good leadership at the schools. And that's why I call the names of the schools. I've been to many of them to give them a nice basket and to give the children baskets to encourage them, because this is good. And for a lot of these schools, they are rural schools, deep rural schools. They're multi-grade schools, meaning that there are more than 1 grades in 1 class, which makes it even more difficult. And they've been able to get these types of results. So for mathematics, the schools that improved the most, taking their children, first of all, they were on the critical list of the ministry, as in worst performing schools. And then they've been able to move to most improved with 100% proficiency. For mathematics, these schools are Clydesdale Primary, Cairn Curran Primary, Quick Step Primary, Moores Primary and Infant, Springvale Primary and Infant, and Ty Dixon Primary and Infant. And if we look at language arts, those who have improved significantly were Barking Lodge Primary, Clydesdale Primary, Philadelphia Primary, Quick Step Primary, Moores Primary, Mount Airy Primary. And I want to congratulate all those principals, the teachers, the students. One of the things that was interesting for me was when I went to Philadelphia Primary. I thought Philadelphia was in America, but we have Philadelphia Primary in really rural St. Anne. And the principal said, when he heard me make a statement about reading a grade 1 to 3 and timetabling it, he said he laughed because he's been doing that for the last 3 years. So he's saying to us that he proactively put in place measures that led to these results. And so when you see good leadership, you have to applaud it. And I ask the media to help us to get out this information out there, because these people are working really, really hard. So what I see from the PEP results is that we can do it. And all of these schools told me that they were very grateful for the work of the ministry. The regions were working really closely with these schools, and they acknowledged it. All of these schools that I've spoken to, and the principals for all these schools, have acknowledged the role of the ministry. So, PS and CEO, keep doing what you are doing. It is going to pay off. I also want to note, in terms of changes to PEP, again, we have heard from the parents, we've heard from the teachers, and we looked at PEP. And we did this very consultatively. So we did a survey. We sent out the survey as widely as we could. We also had focus group sessions, and the results came in. And so as a ministry, we are looking at changes to PEP. Now, these are not huge changes, but they're impactful changes. And we believe that it will also assist us in terms of getting to some of the outcomes that we want. And so in terms of literacy and numeracy, that's a big change for grade 6. We will be having a test of numeracy and literacy, because PEP is not a test of numeracy and literacy. You cannot assume that a child that is not proficient in language arts is not literate. That's not what the language arts test is testing. And so we have to test specifically for literacy. And so we'll add some questions to the language arts paper at grade 6 just to test where we are with literacy across the country. And that will need no more work. So teachers don't need to do any extra classes. No new books need to be bought. We're just going to test where children are. Just add some questions to the language arts paper. That's just a pure test of literacy. And then for numeracy, we'll do the same thing with the mathematics paper, just adding some questions that will purely test numeracy. And so that's how we're going to be able to actually benchmark where we are in terms of numeracy and literacy. We're also, as I've said before, moving the exams later, putting exams together so you don't go multiple days for the same subject. That is something that our teachers complained quite a bit about, the first exam being in February and all these testing days. We are changing that, and we're going to collapse the exams, so one day for each of the subject areas. We're also still looking at the grade 5 tests in terms of how we will treat with that, and we will make announcement as necessary. In terms of infrastructure, you heard a lot about infrastructure changes, but I want to identify a few things. The 5 exemplary labs are very important because these are top-of-the-line labs that we're putting in our schools. But I also want to mention the $400 million investment from HEART to retool all of the technical high schools in Jamaica. So every single technical high school will be given a state-of-the-art lab. We're spending $400 million on that. So that's in addition to what's happening in terms of the exemplary labs. We've said to ourselves that we're a STEM country and we want to be a STEM country. Through funding from the World Bank, we'll be upgrading our science labs, so biology, chemistry, and physics labs across secondary schools will be provided with the equipment that is needed. I've been into some of these labs. I've been in physics labs where I don't see anything. Been in biology labs where I don't see the equipment. And so for us to truly be a STEM country, we have to get the equipment in our science labs. And the ministry has done a fantastic job. They have done a survey of audit of all of our science labs, and I commend the team for that, so that we know what is needed in our labs across the country. The other thing I would like to note is the rural school bus system. That is a very big deal. you would have heard about nutrition and the nutrition support that we're doing. We're looking holistically at our education system. And one of the good things, too, is that we're not only looking at the recommendations from the Patterson report, we're also looking at other realities that may come to the fore and addressing them. And what is clear is that two inhibitors to performance are nutrition and transportation. Across our country, you see it time in, time out, especially in rural areas. You have parents who say they can only send their children to school some days of the week because they cannot afford it. When I was in rural St. Thomas last week, one parent told me that for one day she had to give her child $2,000, one day, because $1,200 was for transportation to school, to St. Thomas Technical High School, and then she had to give $800 for food. That's $2,000. And this is for summer school. And she was saying she doesn't think that she can send the child to school every day of summer school. She's just sending her when she has the $2,000. That's the reality for many of our parents across Jamaica. When you go to school on Friday, in rural areas you hear, it's Friday, that's why they're not here. Money run out already. So this rural school bus system is really important. We're starting with 110 buses for 258 schools. We know it needs to be more, and over time we will deliver more. But it's where we have to start. We have to start with addressing this problem. And Dr. Stokes has been very, very articulate in relation to the nutrition challenges. And it's for that reason that the NSLIP schools, which are the schools that we find need the most attention, are getting the support in terms of breakfast and lunch. Because we understand that you need to get to school, and then when you get to school, you need to be in a frame of mind to learn, which means you need to not be hungry. And so as we do all of the technical things and putting the technology in the classrooms, we're also treating with some of the other things that impede the potential of our children. And we are very much very excited about both the school bus system and also the improvements in terms of school nutrition that we will put in place in September. You heard about the JETC bill. That's a very, very important bill, and it's good to see Dr. Gordon here, who is the head of the Jamaica Teaching Council. And I always remind people, there is a Jamaica Teaching Council already, and the majority of our teachers are already registered to the Jamaica Teaching Council, and they already do a lot of continuous professional development work, and they do extremely good work. And so our goal is to get the JTC bill passed. There were some concerns in relation to it. We eventually got some concerns in writing, and the next step is really to have dialogue around what can be changed, what can't be changed. The key thing is we still have to keep to the essence of the JTC bill. Why did we need it? And so whatever changes will be done, we will do so with that in mind, but obviously in a very consultative manner, as this entire process over all these years has already been. The other point I'll note, and I want the media to really play this up, is in relation to the changes at grade 7. We recognize that there are already children who are leaving primary school who may not be at the level of literacy that they need to be in order to learn in a high school setting. And so the change is being made to add more flexibility, to reduce the number of subjects, are extremely important. It makes no sense to have a child go into high school, not able to read, and you give them all these subjects that they have to do when they're sitting there unable to read. And so we have said to the principals, flexibility is yours. And so if you feel there is a way to do it, talk to us at the ministry, and we will work with you to make it happen. There's no one size fits all for every school. But we're also saying to our schools, if you need to cut the curriculum, you don't need to do all those subjects. At the end of the day, what we want are children who leave literate and who have skills that they can use to further themselves in the future. Now, ultimately, our goal is that no child leaves primary school unable to read. That's why we're doing the grade 1 to 3 interventions on reading. So in a few years, we won't have this issue of children in high school not literate. But until then, we're going to have to do what we can, and we are here to work with the schools, and we again say to the principals, be innovative. You know your children. You know what could work. Let's work through it, and know that we are very much in support of that flexibility. I also want to finally talk about parenting. This is something that has come up quite a bit. Our teachers, our principals speak about the parenting deficit quite a lot. We're going to have to confront that issue as a country. It is very difficult for our teachers. A lot of our children have not been socialized in the way that we would have been socialized when we were younger. And they come to school with some maladaptive traits that we need to adjust. And we have to re-socialize. School is now an area of re-socialization. But no matter what we do in schools, if we don't have the support in the home, we're not going to get the full result of it. And so we are actively looking at how we can strengthen parenting in this country. There's a lot of work to be done. I've said this to the churches, I need your help, especially in this area, because we're going to have to address that issue of parenting. But I will say that one of the reasons I go to so many schools is because I learn so much when I go to them, and I get hints at what has worked. In one school, they had a parenting session for all parents at first form, and they gave them certificates at the end. And many of the parents there said that no one had ever told them what they were learning. No one had ever told them that when your child becomes a teenager, there are new realities that you have to face. No one ever said it. Or how you deal with parenting a teenager. What are the methods you can use apart from shouting and hitting? And that school found that that was very useful. And so we're learning from different things that have worked, and we're going to make a more active effort, especially in the area of parenting, because our teachers are largely being asked to also parent in school, which was not necessarily what the school environment was set up for. But that's an area we're going to come back to you on more. And I want to close by thanking again the ETOC team for their work, especially Dr. Stokes. And I want to again say to all stakeholders, what we're doing here in trying to fix education is all of our country's business. If we want to see that bright future that we know Jamaica can be, we're going to have to address our education system. And I'm so pleased to be in a ministry with people who are working this hard to make it happen, trying new things. They're not afraid to try and put in place new policies, and you see all of it in the report. And so we're doing our best, and we want all of Jamaica to be on board, know what we're doing, be a part of it. And if you can play a part in this transformation, we urge you to do so. And I ask again that we continue to pray for our children and pray really, really hard for our entire education system. I know that we can do it. I know that our children are wonderful, and they're just waiting to be the best they can be. And what we have to do is to create that for them. And so I thank you all, and I look forward to the next ETOC press briefing. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Minister. You don't have to wonder about the persons on the team at the ministry, starting from Minister P.S. going all the way down. You know that Minister has started somewhere along the line because of the way she's broken it down, so you can understand exactly what's happening within the ministry. We are ensuring that nothing goes over anybody's head today or at any time, so you can understand the impactful work that is going on. We're now opening the floor up to questions and comments. I know we have some journalists in our midst who have some questions for us. While they get up with their questions, we do have some comments online. Geneva, once again, is asking what the ministry is doing about the high fees being asked to pay at the high school level, as there is a charge to collect packages and forms, also a charge to sit entrance exams, among other things. And another question from Zaina Lee Ross is, what is this? Well, actually, she's giving a solution. And Zaina Lee, keep your ears peeled, because these things are happening within the ministry. CEO is here and can talk about the CIA roadmap. She'll be able to talk about the tactical approach. So Zaina Lee is saying the solution is to structure, and Minister mentioned that too, the solution is to structure the primary curriculum to only mathematics and language arts. All other subjects can be taught at the secondary level. So we have those, and we know we have some questions. So for the first one, I'm not sure who will answer that one just yet. From Geneva, asking about the high fees. And while you're coming, PS, let me just add another question from the senior teacher at Quick Step or primary school. They are tuned in, and they want to know when they can expect to get their smart tablets and their smart boards.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Quick Step, we are coming to you in Quick Step. As we reported earlier, we have provided laptops to 605 primary schools already, and this is brand new. We have always resourced our high schools, and as we completed that task, we went back into partnership with e-learning to expand the technological resources in our primary schools. So we are there. I think we are over 6,000 devices now in our primary schools in terms of laptops. So Quick Step, we are coming, CEO. Please note, we are going to see how quick e-learning can get to Quick Step. We do apologize that we are not there quickly. All right, as it relates to the fees, we know as a ministry this is an annual issue that we have had to address. And we always start out with explaining the operation of schools. And of course, the Ministry of Education provides resources, funding resources for the operation of our schools. But of course, our schools work with their parents. Our parents are not bystanders. They are partners in education, and all hands must be on deck. And in terms of the program that schools offer, they do enrichment activities, and they do so in partnership with parents. So we have allowed what we call the non-mandatory fees. So it is not something that you must pay, but as a ministry, we encourage it, right? We encourage parental contribution, and I am certain once you go to your meetings with your principals and boards, they will unpack for you the program within that school. What are the basic activities, and then what are the enrichment activities that they will implement throughout the year. And the enrichment activities will require some additional resources. What we ask for is that dialogue. Principals, it's very important to treat your parents as partners. We don't want them to feel they don't have a voice. They need to understand the program of learning. As a principal, I did it. And that's why I'm able to say it now. You have to present that program of learning and all the enrichment activities that you will carry. You need to detail the budget and how it will be expended. And as a parent, I went through that. My principal for my daughter called us in, and she went through the program, and she aligned the budget and showed what the government provided and what we need from our parents and partners so we can provide a complete program of learning. Because sometimes you have to go the extra mile to bring those children up to par. And that's what our principals are doing. What we don't want is our principals to give the impression that our children cannot access their education if they are unable to pay. Jamaica boasts 100% access to education. This is why even our small schools, when we have 5 children and 2 children, they remain open in those deep rural areas because access is non-negotiable. We are not paying for services at the entry. Education is a social product, it's a government product, and it's for every single Jamaican child. As educators and operators of schools, we are a part of that architecture to make sure that education is accessible. We are not selling services. We are providing services for our learners. And of course, whilst we champion innovations, we must not deny access. So no parent should feel as if I cannot register my child if I am unable to pay at this point. What we ask parents and principals to agree on, what is it that you can contribute? When can you contribute? And that is what we want, a partnership, a dialogue, not a turn away, not for persons to feel like, because I am not able, I am not worthy. Every single Jamaican child is worthy of their places in high school, and they should not be denied. So principals, I'm appealing to you, as a former principal myself, build the relationship, have the dialogue, work with your parents. Sometimes you may feel that they can do better, and yes, they may be able to do better. But as they come into their new environment, let's welcome them with an open arms. Let's not deny the children because the parents are not making the right decisions. This is not a parent thing. It is for our children. The children must never be denied. Let's work in partnership. So yes, there are fees that we support at the ministry. We say that, yes, you can contribute. If you can, parents, do so. You will see how your schools will operate. You can ask for that. Go ahead and ask, what is the difference? What are you bringing? What will the program of learning look like? We want you to support our schools. But principals, I'm asking you, please, do not make any parent come to our ministry feeling that they are not worthy. Parents, if you feel this way, our regional offices are there. You can reach out to our regional offices. That's why we have the branches out into the field to bring the services closer to you. We are willing and ready to support you as we give you an opportunity to have that dialogue with your schools and principal, and for you to say what you are able to give if you can. If you can't, then we do also accommodate for that, especially our children who are on our social safety net program or PATH program. We have already said to our parents, to our principals, that these parents are not expected to contribute. If they can, we accommodate and you accommodate, but they are not expected. They can't be mandated to contribute. These are students who are parents who are already in a difficult place, and we need to support them. Parents, there are some consumables. These are things that our principals packaged for you, like your PE gears, that you will have to pay for. It's a service. Your insurance. Our schools provide insurance opportunities. If something happens to your child at school or en route to school, we want you to access benefits to support the children in their recovery. You will have to pay for that. So they will detail for you what is in your package and the cost of that. They have put it into a package for you, but that is not something that they can exempt you from. You will have to contribute to your PE gears, your ties, your pins for school, and sometimes some materials for learning that they will package into your school, your handbooks. And we have said to our principals from time to time, do not necessarily print those in this era, but there are parents who will need a printed copy. Provide that opportunity, but put it on their website. Put it in a page where parents can go and view these things electronically. Put the substance in your libraries where parents can visit and access if they cannot pay at this point in time. But I appeal to our principals and teachers, senior teachers, vice principals. It's a difficult time for all of us, but we can do it together. All hands on deck. Dialogue makes a difference. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. P.S. We have some more comments, and I know that Mahari has a question from Nationwide. Haile Selassie hosted their first parent workshop in December, and they say it is bearing fruits. So we applaud them. And we have another comment online. Hunger is a distraction and transportation is costly and cumbersome. Therefore, these initiatives are welcome. Mahari, we're coming to your question, but there's a question that piggybacks on that, and the person is asking, so how are schools chosen for these breakfast and lunch programs? So right after that one is you, Mr. Stewart.
So in the ministry, we have a list of schools at primary and at the secondary level who are not performing at the level that we would like. They're called NSLIP schools. And so they've been identified based on performance, based on the Education Inspectorate's reports, and that's how they are selected. And so those are the schools where we've been having what they've been saying is a tactical approach. So there's been more resources provided to these schools. So during the holidays, during Christmas, during Easter, these schools were having targeted interventions from the ministries. They were having workshops on maths and English. In addition to that, the ministry has even gone as far as to give them alternative curriculum material to help them. The ministry has been going in, the math specialists and the English language specialists have been going in and working with these schools. And so they've been identified for some time now. It was an initiative started by Dr. Stokes to actively target those schools. And so there are interventions happening on multiple levels. So it was chosen quite scientifically based on the performance of the schools. So what we've said is you have some schools that are at the top, you have some in the middle, and you have some that aren't performing where we want them to be. And so let's focus on those that are really having challenges with performance, and let's bring them up, because the goal of the ministry is to bring every school up. Mahiri, your question? And I don't think it's for me.
Could be, I don't know, whoever wants to answer. But my first question would be, in terms of the recommendations that we've just gone through, we've seen the increase in PEP proficiency in terms of math from grade 4 to 6. But how many of those recommendations do you think can be credited to that increase?
I don't know if you're going to ever be able to have that kind of causal relationship, because what you're doing is you're changing multiple variables at the same time, right? And I do believe that if you're going to get the kind of impact that you want, it's going to have to happen at multiple levels. And so when you look at, for example, those schools that I mentioned that were very rural, those schools benefited from a lot of interventions from the ministry. Some of them are NSLIP schools, which were getting special interventions. And then you have others who benefited from additional training for PEP that you would have had. And also, we also have NSEL, which is teaching our leaders how to be better leaders. And so you would have principals who feel more empowered to try new things. So there are different things that are happening across the system that would lead to this. And what we need to do is to have more of those things happen across the system so that this is actual sustained changes that we see. But I'll ask Dr. Stokes his view.
No, it's a very good question. But the way I like to look at it is what is being done is to create an environment, an enabling environment. That's what transformation is really about. And that environment covers a number of different areas, people, processes, systems, and the cultures as well, getting a high performance culture going. And that's what transformation is about. And the transformation project is listed across 7 different pillars. And all these pillars will impact different areas in terms of people. Significant amount of training and retraining. We spoke about that earlier. And one that is really dear to my heart is, and Minister just spoke about it, the feeding program, the transportation. One of the things that I have been doing specifically is to go to some of these schools, really rural schools, schools that are struggling, to get a first-hand feedback of what's happening, what can we do, how can we help you to do better. And nutrition is a massive problem. And so to the extent that the ministry is working to improve resources that are allocated to these schools to improve nutrition, that's a big plus. Just getting to school is a big problem. The school bus system will help. And whatever tactical measures that are being implemented to supplement transportation costs in these rural areas will also go a long way to improve overall performance. So basically, transformation is about having an ecosystem that has significant positive feedback loop that is able to raise the overall standard, overall level of education in Jamaica.
Yeah, I have more. Okay, so my second question is just some more clarity on this new initiative for grade 7 students that will be doing the 6 subjects. Is it a case where as they improve, they will be able to take on more? Or is it a case where based on how they perform, they will remain at 6 going into grade 8, 9, and so on?
Yes, that is correct. So we'll start with less subjects, 6 subjects, and then they will, over time, as we deal with the literacy, the numeracy problems, then you can expose them to all of the beautiful subjects that are there. But I know, CEO, I don't know if you wanted to add more. Come on, CEO. CEO has been really dealing with this, and as I said, we're not going to leave the children where they are. We have to take them forward, and that's where this innovation comes in. It's a big one. Thanks for asking.
Good morning, everyone. So the curriculum, instruction, and assessment roadmap, what it actually does, it outlines the ministry's pathway policies. And the pathway policies speak to customization of the curriculum based on where the students are. And so, as you rightfully said, when our students who are on pathway 3, they improve, they are given additional work so as to move them from pathway 3 onto pathway 2 or 1, hopefully to pathway 1. And so what we're doing this year, it's not really new. It is really management of the policy, customizing the policy, packaging it in workable ways for our school leaders and for the education system.
Right, and a follow-up to that question would be, in terms of the statistics that we have in terms of children that graduate from high school with 5 subjects, we know I believe it's less than 20% right now. Do you think an initiative like this could lead to that statistic increasing?
Yes, it will. And gradually what we're looking at is to ensuring that we're meeting the students where they are, and we're ensuring that they're not given the 14 subjects, as our chair would have said, but to be given subject based on their abilities and ensuring that our students leave with a skilled area. And we're focusing on math and language at the upper school, that's the high school, and a skilled area. At least 5 subjects for exit.
And final question. Final question. I know when I go back to the newsroom later and write that there's been a 7% increase, there may be a couple of people that think that a 7% increase isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. But for those persons that are skeptical upon just seeing the headline, could you go into detail into how much has been basically achieved in this 7%?
I'll take that, CEO. Thank you. So last quarter, we reported a 1 percentage point increase. And this quarter, we are reporting a 7 percentage point increase, or to use financial terms, 700 basis points. 700 sounds like a bigger number, so let's go with 700 basis points increase, period over period. In all seriousness, though, keep in mind that this is a long-term project. It is being done over several years, 8 years. So we are on track, as indicated in the information presentation session earlier. There's a lot to be done. There's a lot. And we are still in, I would say, the early to the intermediate phase of the transformation process. And I like to use the analogy of the flywheel principle, which effectively is very difficult to turn the wheel, to get a full rotation of a flywheel. But once you get the flywheel going and you get one revolution, subsequent revolutions become easier, and because the flywheel picks up momentum. And that's what we're doing with transformation. And we stated this 2 years ago, that it's a long process. We have to be dogged. We have to be determined. We have to be resilient. We need people who are going to every day work on transformation. We can't get distracted. We need the media. We need all hands to be on deck. We need to get all the critical stakeholders on side. That's why we spoke about the PSOJ, and very happy that they are coming on board in a significant way with helping the ministry with certain key initiatives. So overall, 700 basis points improvement year over year, and I'm deliberately using 700 basis points, right? Improvement period over period is material, but the truth is it's where we plan to be, right? From a project management perspective, at the start of the project, the process or the initiatives were assessed, and we look at critical milestones along the way. In other words, where we should be at different points in time. And so far, so good in terms of the progress that we have been making. There are more difficult recommendations to come in terms of implementation, that we will have to be very nimble. We will need a lot of support, government policy in particular, to get those things going. And, those are the tricky ones that could move us off schedule, but hopefully with proper management, we will be able to stay on track with the transformation process.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm Moy Harriet, CVM. All right, so Dr. Stokes and Minister, you both spoke briefly about the JTC bill. So I have a two-part question. I guess either of you can decide which one of you want to respond. So it's no secret that there's been quite a bit of division in the sector in terms of that bill. So, Minister, you mentioned that there are concerns that were raised. So are you in a position, based on those concerns, to share what changes are being considered? Because you mentioned that, that's something that the government is considering. What changes can be put in place for the bill before it goes into effect? So are you in a position to share what changes are being considered based on the concerns you've heard? And two, Dr. Stokes, you said that you want the feedback process to be time-bound. So what's the time frame that you're thinking? How soon you want the bill to go into effect?
All right, thank you for the question on JTC bill. And it is something that was in the Transformation Commission report. So the Patterson report spoke very clearly on the need for a JTC bill. I think every administration has wanted to have a JTC bill, and that's a fact. And so I think we've taken it the furthest it has ever been, and we now need to finish it. There were some concerns raised, and I think you also have to look at it in terms of the different stakeholders. There are multiple stakeholders in the education system. We had our parents' association saying they welcome the bill. They were in support of it. We also have our independent schools very much in support of the bill. Where we did have some concerns, the JTA raised some concerns. They were a part of the process, but after the bill went to Parliament, to the Senate, they raised new issues in relation to the bill. Some of them they say they had raised before. But the reality is that, we wanted it in writing. We have gotten it in writing in terms of some of the concerns, in terms of some of the fines, and also some other elements of it. And so the plan is for us to work with the JTA, meet with them, go through those concerns. Some of them, Dr. Gordon would have already would have been looked at by the Joint Select Committee that had been set up. I do believe that there are definitely areas where you can have compromise, and that's the goal. You want to have as much consensus as possible, and that's where we are. The JTC bill is something that should have been done a long time ago. And I'm very open. I take all your questions every week when we do these things here, because we need to have everybody on board. So we have a lot of players who are on board. And we know every administration has wanted to do this. And so I think where we are, it's not insurmountable. I think it is more dialogue that's needed. I mean, maybe be able to make I think we will make some tweaks to it in order to get more of a consensus around it. I would expect that to be done by October. Yeah, so we're looking at the last quarter of the calendar year to move forward on it. No, because we've not had that dialogue, and we also need to speak with some of the key stakeholders too. Because at the end of the day, any consultation we're continuing to have, we're going to have all the players there. So we're going to have the churches and trusts that are an important stakeholder, and they like the bill. So we're going to have them there. We're going to have the independent schools there. We're also going to be having the parents there. So we're going to have the dialogue again, which we've already had, with the new concerns that have been raised. And then we look at how we can change or tweak to make everybody feel that this is a bill that serves our country. That's the goal, a bill that serves our country.
Thank you so much, Minister.
Yeah, let me just add quickly that so the senior leadership team at the JTA came to see me at my office some time ago to, again, just to raise concerns that they have with the bill. And I found those concerns to be sincere. They are material concerns that require proper consultation to ensure that if those concerns can be incorporated in some way, some fashion, into the bill that ultimately leads to an improvement in outcomes, then we should take those concerns on board. What's important is that we leave egos at the door. We are focused on what's in the best interest of education, what's in the best interest of our kids and the country. I believe it should be a collaborative process. Importantly, we need to ensure that we're not going after perfection here, because sometimes we can let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And what's important sometimes is to make a start, right? Have a bill, have a good bill. It's not perfect, but obviously there can be adjustments, there can be amendments over time. And so we don't want to be kicking the can down the road, right? So that's important as well. It can't just be talk and endless talk, and at the end of the day, nothing gets passed and we are back to square one, right? That's not a desirable outcome. But notwithstanding, as I said, collaboration is important, ensuring that the critical stakeholders, all the stakeholders, get an opportunity to provide feedback, and if possible, take those recommendations, suggestions on board. But importantly, not everybody's going to get everything that they want, right? That's important as well. And we have to, at the end of the day, keep in mind that there will be other opportunities to amend the law going forward.
Thank you so very much for that. We're almost at the very end. As you know, this is a very busy ministry because we have a lot of work, and you call us out on those things, so we have to be busy to get those things done. We can't sit down for too long. I have just 2 comments and 1 question, and then we'll wrap everything up. But if you need more information, you can always reach out to us. You can always visit our website, trend-ja.com. All the presentations are already there. The first comment is, can test what wasn't taught, so literacy needs instructions even if it's minimal. And from West Sports TV, teachers need better benefits and increased wages. Fix the problem, Minister. And then the final question we have for today is from Lacovia Vision Deliverance Center. Can any update be given on any new brain builder centers at the early childhood level and when it will be established? And that will be our final question for today. Let me do that question again. From the Lacovia Vision Deliverance Center, they want to find out about the new Brain Builder Centers for early childhood, I guess in that area, Lacovia, St. Elizabeth. Did you request one, sir?
Yes, so we do have the instruction from our minister. Before she joined us on this side, we started the preliminary work to get 15 new BBCs on board, which is the Brain Builder Centers, which is a government form of daycare support for our parents who need that kind of support. Again, a part of the commitment to improve our early childhood sector. So the government moved into Brain Builder Centers. We have, I think, 130 of those centers in existence. We fund them through the Early Childhood Commission. And this year, Minister did ask that we ensure that the new centers are brought on board. So we will commit to 30 centers this year. And Minister, I can assure you that we have the submission for 15 MOUs already that will be funded for September. And then we'll take on the other 15 in the start of the fourth quarter, which is January. So we do have that commitment to build that out. It's informed by needs. What ECC does is to go around to look at our communities and where we are seeing our students who need additional support in terms of stimulation. So that's how we are doing it now. In the past, we looked at how we could put a center in each constituency to make sure that that support was available at the constituency level. But we have moved it beyond that to look at needs. So when we do the screening, we look to see where the students are coming from or the infants are coming from who need additional support or they are delayed somewhat, and we target those areas deliberately to ensure that we establish a Brain Builder Center within that locale where parents can take their children from as early as 3 months old to 3 years old, fully supported by the government. In other cases, they would have to find an aunt or an uncle or to pay for daycare. In this instance, the government provides that resource. Again, our commitment to get it right from the start.
Thank you so very much for that PS. And this is where we'll wrap our press conference for today. We want to thank you so very much for joining us online, for joining us here, to our Minister, our Permanent Secretary, or CEO, Dr. Stokes, our DCO, all team members from the ministry, and everyone who has joined us, shared their questions and concerns. Thank you so very much. We continue to make the necessary changes so that we can impact the lives of our students. And I want to remind you as well that you too can help to be a part of the transformation by going to our website, trend-j.com, and you can sign up to be volunteers and give back to your schools and to your different areas. And if you are a strong team member, an expert in a field, and you want to be part of a board, as a chair, as a chair or just as a member, go to the NCE, National Council on Education website, and sign up to do the same. Thank you so very much for your time. Have a wonderful rest of the day. You can go with Minister. She will be going to the library on the sea. That's what I call it. I've always wanted the logos. Thank you, book fair. But that's what I called it back in the day. And of course, we have a a courtesy call at the ministry. So you're welcome to join us, persons from the media, at either or both of those. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.